Hey guys, Scrub here. So I've had a lot of questions about what to look for when taking a trade and how to know if it's a valid trade or not. So today's video is going to shed some light into that. So we're going to use a real life example that I mapped out earlier this week. It's ENPH, so ENFIS. So as you can see, we wanted the 152 area to hold, and look what actually it did on the chart. So we held that level, right? And what we did was we actually made a higher low. So this is extremely important. That's pretty much check mark one because it's staying in a bullish structure. Okay. So next would be, I said safe calls after the 157.10 resistance, right? And so that's pretty much check mark two, is because we ended up breaking out of that. And then over the blue box was a full confirmation because that's the pivot zone where sellers could have potentially took over and pretty much rejected us. So notice how once we broke out, that we ended up actually retesting this resistance. So we became a support right here. So that's check mark two. So now that we have a support here and actually made another higher low. So this is where you could have entered for what is known as a second breakout method in case you missed the initial impulse up right here. You never, ever want to chase a breakout if you miss it. It's okay if you miss it. Just wait, because the contracts are always going to be more expensive, and also you increase your drawdown, which thus leads to not having a really ideal risk to return ratio. So this is a prime example of what to look for because the second breakout method is historically the actual breakout. As you can kind of see here, we had an initial impulse up, we had a nice little retesting again, and then once we pretty much retested it, we made a nice hammer candle and then kind of just reversed right off of it. So this is what is known as a second breakout. So I actually mapped all these level out before the actual breakout. So I mapped it up down here, and then look what actually happened. We came into that supply zone that I mapped out perfectly. So for check mark three, notice the higher volume coming in over the previous days. This is extremely important because the higher the volume, we need volume because volume is needed to actually kind of break out of these levels. If there's no volume, it's most likely going to pretty much reject. So always be aware of volume, and the volume needs to be higher than its previous days. Now, as long as the 159.40 region, pretty much right around here, holds and finds a new support, we're going to be able to take it to our next profit taking levels, which would then be in the 162.50 and then the 165 region. Because remember, psychological whole numbers are where investors are notorious for fighting over. Also, pro tip, notice the large volume spike going into close. Usually what that means is that will end up going into the next trading day, aka potentially a bullish open for ENFIS. So just watch this one next week. So I found all these levels through top-down analysis, and then finding the imbalances, so the supply and the demand zones. I went over all these topics before in previous videos, so I'll drop a link in the comment section for those if you want to check them out. I'd really recommend it because it's super important to find valid levels so you can know when to enter and when to exit. So I hope this quick little video helps, guys. Remember, before I go, we need multiple confirmations when entering any trade. If you find one check mark, that's not an A+ setup. We need multiple check marks. So another check mark that we really had, so basically check mark 4 and 5 was the actual, if you look, we kind of went from a bearish statement to a bullish statement for the TTM squeeze. So that's another check mark. And then the stochastic ended up actually crossing upwards. So this is a shift in momentum. So this is a shift in bullish momentum. So that's check mark, another check mark, another check mark, and then higher volume. So we had multiple check marks here. So this would be constituting a A+ setup. Never take anything less than an A+ setup. Do not waste your money on B- setups. It's never worth it. Always protect your capital. If you learned something and found value from this video, please take a second to smash that sub button and drop a like. It would mean the world to me. I'd appreciate it a lot. Also, drop a comment if you have any questions and let me know what video you want to see next. Thanks again, guys.